Consider how often the phrase, "just be yourself," is offered as advice, and how rarely it is actually welcomed as an outcome. People say it easily because it costs nothing to say. But when someone actually does become fully themselves, opinionated where they used to defer, direct where they used to soften, boundaried where they used to accommodate, the response is often not admiration. It is discomfort dressed up as concern. "You seem different lately. Are you okay?" That question, asked in that tone, is rarely curiosity. It is often a request, disguised as care, to please return to the version of you that required less adjustment from everyone else. And because most people are conflict-averse by design, this request usually works. Not because the newly authentic self was wrong, but because maintaining it required a kind of resistance most people were never taught how to sustain. The truest parts of a person are rarely destroyed by enemies. They are slowly negotiated away by people who claim to love them. That sentence should sit uncomfortably because it applies to nearly every relationship examined honestly enough. Parents who loved a child but not the specific shape that child eventually grew into. Partners who fell for a persona and quietly punished its evolution. Friends who valued your usefulness more than they ever valued your truth, without ever consciously intending to. None of this makes those people villains. It makes them human, operating inside the same unconscious machinery that shaped you, which is precisely what makes it so difficult to address. You cannot simply blame the people around you for fearing your authenticity, because the mechanism that produces that fear in them is the exact same mechanism that produced your own fear of it, running quietly in the background of nearly everyone you have ever known. There is a question that most people avoid asking themselves, not because they lack the intelligence to answer it, but because the answer arrives with consequences they are not prepared to carry. The question is simple. If no one had ever reacted badly to who you actually were, who would you be right now? Most people cannot answer quickly. They pause, they stumble. Some feel a strange grief they cannot immediately explain, the grief of realizing that the person they might have been was quietly edited out of existence long before they had any say in the matter. This is the part of the psyche Jung spent his life trying to map with real precision. Not the self you present, and not even the self you consciously believe yourself to be, but the self that exists underneath both of those layers, largely untouched by the negotiations that shaped everything above it. He believed this deeper self does not disappear simply because it goes unexpressed. It waits, and the longer it waits, the stranger its reappearance tends to be. Sometimes it shows up as sudden, inexplicable anger at situations that shouldn't provoke it. Sometimes as a persistent restlessness that no accomplishment seems able to satisfy. Sometimes as an attraction to people who seem, for reasons you cannot articulate, to be living the life you quietly abandoned somewhere back in adolescence. You are not imagining that reaction. You are recognizing something in them that you buried in yourself. This is one of the more uncomfortable truths hidden inside the fear of authenticity. The people who irritate you the most, the ones whose confidence seems unearned, whose directness seems almost offensive in its ease, are frequently mirrors rather than provocateurs. They are simply doing, without apparent cost, the exact thing you learned long ago was too expensive to attempt. And rather than examine that discomfort, most people convert it into judgment. It is easier to call someone arrogant than to admit their ease exposes your own long-standing restraint. Judgment is often just envy that has learned to disguise itself as principle. This mechanism operates so smoothly, so far outside conscious awareness, that most people go their entire lives mistaking their own suppressed longing for moral clarity. They believe they are objecting to someone else's behavior. In reality, they are objecting to a version of freedom they never permitted themselves to claim. Here is where the disturbance deepens. If this pattern is common enough to explain widespread social discomfort with authenticity, then it must also be true of you. Not hypothetically, specifically. There are people in your life whose confidence unsettles you, whose boundaries seem excessive, whose refusal to explain themselves feels almost impolite. Sit with the discomfort that produces, rather than immediately explaining it away, because what you are witnessing in them may be less about their behavior and more about a door in yourself that has been closed for so long you forgot it was ever meant to open.